They don't care. No matter what the facts are, it won't matter. If your son or daughter gets accused of something and the political climate is just right, and they can at least convince the thoughtless mob and the media enough and people online enough that there's some kind of bigot, then it won't matter what the truth actually is.
Mr. Rosenbaum was now running from my right side, and I was cornered from in front of me with Mr. Zeminski, and there were three people right there.
Take a deep breath, Kyle.
That's what I run.
We're gonna just take time for our break anyway. You can just relax for a minute, sir.
So if that broke your heart, which I'm sure it did, I got a lot of messages from a lot of you saying that reminds me of my son. It reminds me of my friend. That reminds me of my brother. No matter what the lying ghouls on social media say, and there are a lot of lying ghouls, they're calling Rittenhouse a white supremacist. They're calling him a terrorist. They're making fun of him for crying. LeBron James tweeted out that, oh, there were no tears. Basically, those are fake tears. He just ate something sour before he got into court. There was a blue check mark, a liberal blue check mark by the name of Tara Dublin. She tweeted out a picture of him crying on the stand, and she said that's the same face Kyle Rittenhouse will make during his first time in the prison shower. So joking about Kyle Rittenhouse being raped in prison. Anna Navarro I think she's of CNN, she says that she is mourning for the three people that attacked him, that he had to shoot, and called his tears crocodile tears. There are people saying that this is just the face of white privilege. There's another blue check mark who goes by, I guess his name is Kirk Acevedo. He says he has zero sympathy for Kyle Rittenhouse. Black and Latino kids have been imprisoned and killed just for the color of their skin. So this is the kind of thing, unfortunately, that people are saying. I mean, you heard those tears. I see the tears. They're not fake. No matter what you think about why he was there, that's irrelevant. This is a kid whose life has been ruined by mostly lies. So I'm feeling so much indignation, such disgust, such righteous anger. And how do I know it's righteous? Because it's anger about deliberately malicious lies. It's anger over false witness, and God, the source of all righteousness, says that he hates false witness. In ancient Israel, God demands those who knowingly bear false witness against someone on trial that they should receive the same punishment that the accused would have gotten had he been convicted. It's a good thing that we don't live in ancient Israel, because most on the left would be in jail. They accused Kavanaugh of gang rape, the Covington teenager of intimidating a Native American at a pro-life rally, when the full video showed that that didn't happen at all. They said Border Patrol agents were whipping migrants and treating them like cattle based on one out-of-context picture. Turns out the video was released of that, and that's not even close to what actually happened. There was no whipping of people at all. They perpetuated for years that Trump colluded with the Russians to win the election. That was a lie. We know now from reports released this week and last week that that was a total fabrication. It was a farce paid for by the Clinton campaign. They said that Ron DeSantis was refusing to encourage vaccines and was somehow financially benefiting from monoclonal antibodies. That was literally just a bald-faced lie. And all those people targeted by these lies have had their lives and their family's life severely damaged because of lies. There's not left and right, as I was saying with Elijah. There's right and wrong. It just so happens that in the cases that we're talking about, that the left routinely gets it wrong. They peddle in blatant lies. An epidemic of racialized police brutality is a lie, as we have talked about many times and have gone through the data so many times. The gender wage gap is a lie. That a man can become a woman is a lie. That a baby in the womb is just a clump of cells is a lie. That the rich don't pay any taxes is a lie. That America is a place primarily characterized by oppression and racism is a lie. That mask mandates and vaccine passports are saving lives. That's a lie. The numbers show that's a lie. Critical race theory isn't in schools. A lie. That our biggest threat in this country today is white supremacy. Are you kidding me? That's a huge lie. That our planet is going to become irreversibly unlivable in less than 12 years. That's a lie. It's been a lie since the 1970s. You know, I'm so used to the lies that sometimes I forget that almost my entire job is characterized by debunking lies. Now, I'm not saying that people on the right never lie. Again, I don't think that this is primarily left versus right. So I'm not saying that at all. There are sniveling snakes on both sides of the aisle. Absolutely. Like maybe you would say that the lies about the election led to some of the behavior we saw on January 6th. Okay, maybe. That's one. But the big lies that end up shaping false narratives that turn into CNN and MSNBC segments that are then paraded out by big tech and big business and big pharma and all of the major national and global institutions, all of those that fan the flame for the riots that have burned and looted and ruined American cities over the past year, the kind of lies that affect destructive policy and so much resentment and confusion and chaos, yes, these are most often from the left. They just happen to be from the left. They're lies primarily, they're wrong primarily, they happen to be coming from the left. And these people who will just completely make up a story about a person if it helps their political side, whether it's about Trump or Kyle Rittenhouse or Nick Sandmann, they're vicious. They truly don't care if it ruins your life. They don't care if it's true. It just feels good. It just feels good to them. If they get clicks and claps and affirmation, then they're on the right side. They're on the right side of history and they don't care. The ends justify the means to them. They have no limiting principles, no moral boundaries, and idiots just go along with their lies because it takes too much effort and courage to ask and follow a simple question. But is that true? But is that true? Is it true that white police officers are going after disproportionately black unarmed men? The numbers say no. Is it true that women with the same qualifications, hours worked, and education are getting paid less than men? The numbers say no. Is it true that a man can become a woman? No. Is it true that mask mandates in schools have lowered the case or death rate at all for kids and communities? No. And on it goes. But too many people don't want to ask that question. They don't want to ask the question, is this true? Because it's scary, because it's inconvenient. It can put you in opposition to the people that you like. So you're going to see a bunch of people saying, wow, yes, Kyle Rittenhouse is such a racist. He's a terrorist. What a terrible person. Innocent. These are innocent victims. If this were a black person, wow, look at this random case of a black person where they were actually convicted of homicide. Wow, that proves white privilege and white supremacy because he's not going to be convicted here. There's no evidence of that. And if you want to compare anecdotes, like we can do that all day. I mean, what about Timothy Simpkins? He's a teenager who happens to be black in the Dallas area who shot up a classroom at school in October, was released on bail almost immediately. He says he shot up the class because he was bullied for being rich. He was then welcomed home by a party that was posted on social media. I haven't heard anything about that story since. The media certainly hasn't talked about it, hasn't trended on social media. No one cared after he was released from jail after shooting multiple people in his classroom. Like the media would not have stopped talking about that if he had been white. So, and I'm not saying that that is that's indicative of some systemic problem. I'm just saying that if you want to compare stories, we can do that. There's a longer list of names of unarmed white men killed by the police than unarmed black men, but most of us don't know their names because no one riots for them. The truth is, comparing and contrasting anecdotes doesn't really make for good argumentation. You're going to see that a lot with Kyle Rittenhouse, but it's really fallacious. And it definitely doesn't work here because this had nothing to do with race. It's just that the reason why this is being talked about the way it is, the reason why he's being mocked, is because Rittenhouse represents conservatives and the pedophile he shot apparently represents leftists. I mean, that's what they're saying in the media. And so that's where people are coming from. That's it. And they'll do the same thing to anyone. That's why all this matters, guys. They will do the same thing to anyone. They'll do it to you. They'll do it to your son. They'll do it to your daughter. They don't care. No matter what the facts are, it won't matter. If your son or daughter gets accused of something and the political climate is just right, and they can at least convince the thoughtless mob and the media enough and people online enough that there's some kind of bigot, then it won't matter what the truth actually is as long as corruption and dishonesty and mob rule and jury intimidation and threats of riots reign. That's third world country stuff. That cannot stand in a place that cares about justice. So this really shouldn't be partisan. It really should not. I wish it weren't partisan. You should be able to see why a fair trial, a right to due process, the right to self-defense is necessary. This should not be a partisan issue, guys. And his life is going to be ruined because of this, because of false narratives. You might be like me and you might say he shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have had a gun. You know what? If he was my son, I say yes. I wouldn't have wanted my son there. There's different perspectives on that, but that's really besides the point when it comes to this particular trial. People raising their fist in the name of justice don't even know what justice is. If Christians aren't willing to say, this is what God says justice is, this is justice, justice has to be linked, has to be synonymous with righteousness, which has to be synonymous with truth. It can't just be a perpetuation of false narratives. If Christians can't say that, no one will. Don't be on the side of lies just because it's comfortable, guys. It's not time for that. It's expired for that kind of complacency. Why do we talk about this? Because culture and politics matter. They affect the real lives of people. They affected this guy. They'll affect you and your family too. That we live in a country with actual justice and fair trials matters. The truth matters.